in. To navigate a vessel through the reefs and shoals and passages and unlighted coasts of the coral seas is a man's work in itself. I was the only navigator on board. There was no one to check me up on the working out of my observations, nor with whom I could advise in the ticklish darkness among uncharted reefs and shoals. And I stood all watches. There was no seaman on board whom I could trust to stand a mate's watch. I was mate as well as captain. 24 hours a day were the watches I stood at sea, catching cat naps when I might. Third, I was doctor. And let me say right here that the doctor's job in the Snark at that time was a man's job. All on board suffered from malaria, the real tropical malaria that can kill in 3 months. All on board suffered from perforating ulcers and from the maddening itch of ngari. A Japanese cook went insane from his too numerous inflictions. One of my Polynesian sailors lay at death's door with blackwater fever. Oh, yes, it was a full man's job, and I dosed and doctored and pulled teeth and dragged my patients through mild little things like ptomaine poisoning. Fourth, I was a writer. I sweated out my 1,000 words a day, every day, except when the shock of fever smote me, or a couple of nasty squalls smote the Snark in the morning. Fifth, I was a traveller and a writer, eager to see things and to gather material into my notebooks. And sixth, I was master and owner of the craft that was visiting strange places where visitors are rare and where visitors are made much of. So here I had to hold up the social end, entertain on board, be entertained ashore by planters, traders, governors, captains of war vessels, kinky-headed cannibal kings, and prime ministers sometimes fortunate enough to be clad in cotton shifts. Of course I drank. I drank with my guests and hosts. Also, I drank by myself. Doing the work of 5 men, I thought, entitled me to drink. Alcohol was good for a man who overworked. I noted its effect on my small crew when, breaking their backs and hearts at heaving up anchor in 40 fathoms, they knocked off gasping and trembling at the end of half an hour and had new life put into them by stiff jolts of rum. They caught their breaths, wiped their mouths, and went to it again with a will. And when we careened the Snark and had to work in the water to our necks between shocks of fever, I noted how raw trade rum helped the work along. And here again we come to another side of many-sided John Barleycorn. On the face of it, he gives something for nothing. Where no strength remains, he finds new strength. The wearied one rises to greater effort. For the time being, there is an actual accession of strength. I remember passing coal on an ocean steamer through 8 days of hell, during which time we coal passers were kept to the job by being fed with whiskey. We toiled half drunk all the time. And without the whiskey, we could not have passed the coal. This strength John Barleycorn gives is not fictitious strength. It is real strength. But it is manufactured out of the sources of strength, and it must ultimately be paid for and with interest. But what weary human will look so far ahead? he takes this apparently miraculous accession of strength at its face value. And many an overworked business and professional man, as well as a harried common labourer, has travelled John Barleycorn's death road because of this mistake. End of chapter 32.